My fiancée called off the wedding 2 weeks before saying she wasn't sure. 3 months later I saw her on Instagram dating my younger brother. Their wedding invitation arrived 2 years later by certified mail and I signed it, returned to sender, and sent it back. Last Wednesday my younger brother emailed me from an account I had blocked on another platform 4 years ago. The account was new, Gmail, his full name with the year 2026 at the end. It said, "Tomás, I know we haven't talked in years. I'm going through a really hard time. Andrea and I divorced 3 months ago. I want us to talk as brothers. If you can give me 10 minutes on the phone, I'd appreciate it." I read it from my office in Cholula, at the table where I review blueprints, with a coffee cooling next to me and a client proposal open in another tab. Real quick before this gets worse, and trust me it gets worse, if you live for this kind of Reddit chaos, hit subscribe. A like genuinely helps us bring you more of this stuff we're all addicted to. Okay, back to the story. I read it twice. I didn't reply. I deleted the email. I went back to the proposal. Let me back up. My name is Tomás. I'm 35. Architect from a public university here. I have a small firm in Cholula where 5 architects share offices. 6 years ago I took an old Porfiriana house and converted it into office space. I live alone in a house I designed and built myself, in a quiet residential street in Puebla. Single. 34 signed projects in the last 4 years. My mom Laura still lives in the house where we grew up, in a smaller city a couple of hours away. My dad died when I was 19. I have a younger brother, Esteban, 31 years old, who lives in Puebla. My ex-fiancée is named Andrea Solis. She's 33. Freelance graphic designer, lifelong Poblana, daughter of a couple of attorneys from a private university. I met her in a co-working space downtown when I was 27 and she was 26. I dated her 4 years. I proposed at a cabin in Tlaxcala on her 29th birthday. I gave her a ring my aunt sold me at cost. Andrea cried. She said yes. My brother Esteban is an industrial engineer. 4 years younger than me. When Andrea and I were dating, Esteban was 23 and lived in Querétaro studying. He came back to Puebla when he graduated. 3 months before my planned wedding with Andrea, Esteban moved to Puebla and rented an apartment a few blocks from the office. I'm going to tell a dozen things, because if I don't, this sounds bigger than it was. The wedding was planned for a Saturday in October, 4 years ago. A hacienda outside Cholula. 300 guests. I had handled the floor plans for the reception space because the hacienda asked me as a courtesy. Esteban was best man. He was going to read a piece I'd asked him to write. Andrea was finalizing the dress with the seamstress in Puebla. The Wednesday 2 weeks before the wedding, Andrea asked me to meet her at a cafe in downtown Cholula. I thought it was to go over the remaining invitations. She showed up dressed plainly, no makeup, hair pulled back. She told me, "Tomás, I'm not sure." I said, "Andrea, sure of what?" She said, "Tomás, I'm not ready. I don't want to do this to anyone but I don't see myself married in 2 weeks." I told her, "Andrea, are you canceling?" She said, "I'm asking you to. Please." I told her, "You want time, or you want to end it?" She said, "I don't know." I told her, "Andrea, if you don't know, we end it. I'm not going to wait around for you to know." I sat there finishing my coffee. Andrea cried. I paid the check. I walked her to the car. I told her, "Take care of yourself." I drove out to the hacienda that same afternoon. I told the manager to cancel. We forfeited half the deposit. I called the seamstress. I called the florist. I called the invitation agency. I called my mom. My mom drove up the next day and stayed with me 4 days. Esteban wasn't at the cafe that Wednesday, but he called that night to ask if I needed anything. I told him, "Esteban, thanks, I'm fine." I asked him to lunch Friday. He said he couldn't make it. I said, "That's fine." The next 3 months I lived on autopilot. I worked on 4 projects at the firm. I went to the gym at 6 in the morning. I had Sunday dinners with my mom. In January, 3 months after the cancellation, I saw a story on Instagram. It was Andrea's. A black and white photo of 2 hands intertwined in what looked like a movie theater. The hands belonged to Andrea, her burgundy nail polish, which I recognized, and to Esteban. I recognized Esteban's hand because it had the same scar on the back that my mom accidentally gave him with a syringe when he was 4. The story was up for 24 hours. I screenshotted it. That night I called my mom. I said, "Mommy, did you know?" My mom asked, "Know what?" I sent her the screenshot. My mom went quiet. Then she said, "Tomás, I'm coming over." My mom drove a couple of hours. She got there at 11 at night. She sat at my kitchen table. She told me, "Tomás, I didn't know. I swear on your father's memory." I told her, "I believe you." She said, "Tomás, I'm going to talk to Esteban." I told her, "Mommy, no. You're not the one who has to talk." I didn't talk to Esteban. Or to Andrea. I blocked them both on every platform that same night. I deleted their contacts. My mom stayed with me that night. At 2 in the morning I asked her, "Mommy, did you ever see him with Esteban's eyes?" My mom said, "I saw him as your brother until today." She told me, "Hijo, I'm so sorry." 2 years later the invitation arrived. It came by certified mail, signature required. The mailman brought it on a Tuesday at noon. The box was beige with gold ribbon. Inside was the invitation, thick cream cotton paper, cursive in gold leaf, the names Andrea Solis Mendoza and Esteban Aguilar Hernandez. Wedding at a hacienda in a town nearby. 3 months out. A table number assigned to me, family table, table 4, next to my mom. RSVP with a phone that was the wedding planner's. I didn't read it through. I saw the words, Aguilar Solis, Mendoza family on the cover and I knew what it was. I put it back in the box. I closed the gold ribbon. I took a black Sharpie out of my drawer. On the box I wrote, in block letters. Return to sender. That same afternoon I took it to the post office in downtown Puebla and mailed it certified back to the sender's address, which was Andrea's parents' house. I paid the postage. I kept the receipt. I have it in a folder in my office with the Instagram screenshot. My mom called me the next day. She said, "Tomás, I got a call from Esteban." I said, "Mommy, I don't want to know." My mom said, "Hijo, that's fine." My mom didn't go to the wedding. Andrea and Esteban got married in September. My mom stayed with me that Saturday. I took her to lunch at a restaurant in Cholula. We talked about the firm's projects. What happened next I didn't make happen. My mom told me over time. Esteban and Andrea moved to a house her parents paid for. Esteban left the steady job at Volkswagen he'd been at since 26 and got into his own consulting project that never had 2 clients at once. Andrea kept freelancing. They lived 3 years off the in-laws' monthly stipend and Esteban's savings. At 3 years they separated. My mom heard from my aunt. Esteban moved into a borrowed apartment from a cousin. Andrea kept the house her parents had bought. My mom didn't tell me until the divorce was final. Esteban sent me the Gmail email last Wednesday. 2 days later, Friday, I got a message on Instagram from a new account of Andrea's. The account had no profile photo, was private, had 2 followers. Just the initials, AS. It said, "Tomás, I know I don't deserve a reply and that you're right to still be angry with me. I want to ask for your forgiveness. It's been 4 years and I always knew you were the right one. If at any point you can take a call from me, I'm here." I read the message. I closed the app. I blocked the second profile. I didn't reply. My mom visits on weekends when she can. She's 63. When she visits, we both sleep at my new house, the one I designed, and in the morning we have breakfast in my kitchen with a view of the volcano. My mom doesn't bring up Esteban. I don't ask about Esteban. When she goes to lunch with him on Sundays in Puebla, I drive out to my aunt's place a couple of hours away. We cross paths without crossing paths. The box I sent back by certified mail weighed 400 grams. The hacienda is 24 kilometers from here. The distance between the house where Esteban and I grew up and the office where I read his email last Wednesday is 3.5 hours of driving. That distance wasn't covered by certified mail. It was covered by Esteban in a borrowed bed one January 4 years ago. The invitation I sent back had my name written in gold leaf on the front. The only thing I wrote was, "Return to sender," in caps, with a stationery store Sharpie. If Esteban ever asks me why I never replied, I'm going to put one line in my answer, the date stamped on the post office receipt from downtown Puebla. Things that get sent certified come back certified. Things that get sent 2 years earlier through an Instagram story come back the same way.